The bomber was already inside the corridor when the call came through. No warning, no buildup, just coordinates. At 32,000 feet, the crew of the B-52H Stratofortress made a slight course correction, the aircraft responding slowly under the weight of fuel and payload. Below them, the airspace ahead had shifted from routine to controlled tension. Every system in the cockpit was active. Radar sweeping, signals being monitored, navigation updating in real time. This wasn't a training flight. It was a calculated entry into one of the most sensitive regions on Earth. Airspace watched by multiple defense networks, where every movement was tracked, analyzed, and potentially challenged. And everyone on board understood exactly what that meant. Days earlier, authorization had been finalized. From Washington to London, coordination moved quickly between the United States military and the British government. The objective was clear, not escalation, but control. At the center of it all was one location: the Strait of Hormuz. Roughly 1/5 of the world's oil supply moves through that narrow stretch of water. Any disruption there doesn't stay regional. It becomes global within hours. The mission wasn't about immediate strikes. It was about presence, visibility, and sending a message that access to that corridor would remain open under any circumstances. At Royal Air Force Station Fairford, activity intensified long before takeoff. The B-52 sat on the tarmac, surrounded by ground crews working through a precise checklist. Engine panels were opened, turbine blades inspected, fuel systems verified. Below the wings, loaders positioned munitions carefully. Not maximum payload, but calculated selection. Precision-guided weapons, standby systems, and long-range capabilities were configured based on mission flexibility, not immediate deployment. Inside the bomb bay, the rotary launcher was tested through full rotation, ensuring every position responded correctly. Nothing rushed, nothing assumed. Because once airborne, there would be no margin for mechanical uncertainty. Inside the aircraft, 5 crew members prepared in silence. Each role defined, each responsibility isolated. On the upper deck, the pilot and co-pilot ran through pre-flight checks, engine outputs, fuel balance, navigation alignment. Below them, the navigator monitored route data, cross-referencing waypoints across multiple systems to maintain precise timing. Beside him, the radar navigator worked through targeting interfaces, not to deploy, but to ensure readiness if required. Every screen displayed something different: altitude, terrain, electronic signals. In the rear section, the electronic warfare officer monitored the electromagnetic environment, tracking signals that most people would never notice. Together, they formed a system, not just a crew, but a coordinated unit designed to operate continuously for hours under controlled pressure. Takeoff from Fairford was steady but heavy. Fully loaded, the aircraft used most of the runway before lifting into the air and turning southeast. The route was deliberate. Across Europe, over the Mediterranean, toward monitored airspace. Hours into the flight, systems remained active. Periodic updates came through secure channels. Weather patterns shifted slightly. Air traffic cleared corridors ahead. At cruising altitude, the bomber maintained a controlled speed, balancing fuel efficiency with mission timing. There were no sudden movements, no dramatic maneuvers, just a steady progression toward a region where every kilometer mattered more than the last. And as they approached the operational boundary, the atmosphere inside the aircraft changed, subtle but unmistakable. As the aircraft entered the designated zone, monitoring intensified. The radar navigator confirmed positional data. The electronic warfare officer tracked surrounding signals. Nothing unexpected, but everything watched. This wasn't about immediate engagement. It was about dominance through presence. The bomber maintained altitude and path, operating within a framework that demonstrated capability without triggering escalation. Every system was ready, every option available. Below, shipping routes remained active. Above, surveillance networks observed. And in that moment, the aircraft represented more than a single mission. It represented a strategic position that could shift rapidly if required. But for now, control was maintained without a single weapon released. The effect was immediate, even without direct action. In global markets, attention turned back to the Strait of Hormuz. Shipping confidence stabilized. Military analysts tracked the movement as a signal, not of conflict, but of enforcement. The message was clear. The corridor remains open, and any attempt to challenge, that would be met with immediate capability already in position. No speeches, no announcements, just presence. And in geopolitics, presence often speaks louder than action. Hours later, as the B-52 turned away from the region, the mission continued to unfold beyond what was visible. Because this wasn't a one-aircraft operation. It was part of a wider structure. Multiple assets, multiple routes, all coordinated in real time. And while this flight ended without escalation, it raised a question that remained unanswered. How many more were already in position? Because in operations like this, what you see is only a fraction of what's actually happening.